Hey everybody, Hogan Brown with Loon Outdoors. Today I'm going to show you how to tie a pretty simple fly, but one that is probably in the West, Northern California, even into Oregon and Washington, one of the funnest hatches of the year for us, and that is our October Caddis hatch. It's the biggest caddis that I've ever seen. We see them all summer in the rocks and their little wood tubes crawling around on the bottom, just waiting for them to become kind of the main meal, as they are these giant pupa and they become giant adults. And so when the fish finally start keying on these things, it is really, for me, one of the first true signs of fall. So today I'm going to show you to tie a pattern that definitely influenced by a great local tyer that I grew up paying attention to, and that's Ralph Cutter. He developed his creamsicle October Caddis pattern on the Truckee River. I called it the creamsicle. I'm not really quite sure or remember what Ralph called it, but it was incredibly simple and incredibly deadly on the North Fork of the Yuba River and on the Truckee River in its day. So this is more of a Euro style October Caddis pupa. Great fly to nymph, kind of lift and fish as an emerger. Great fly, super simple, and uses some really great dubbings that I've become a huge fan of, and that's the spawn fly fish semi-seal. So let's get started. Basic nymph hook here is the kind of the foundation. Obviously, October Caddis are different sizes in different waters. Scale this down to what works for you. They're easy to find. They're in their little rock cases on the bottom. When they start to pupate, you can kind of start to see and match this up to their size. So I'm going to start just black thread, work it to the back, and for me, I'm going to be tight lining or Euro-nymphing this fly. So I want it to get down. So I'm going to add a little bit of lead on top of this tungsten bead. This is lead-free 0.20 wire. Push it right up against that bead. Okay. About half the hook shank, and it's not necessarily for that is the secret spot for weight. It's just going to allow me to make a little better taper to this fly. And I keep this fly, like a lot of my flies that are heavy and I know that are going to get down and I'm going to push down, I keep them for the most part pretty simple, because the reality is I'm going to lose a lot of them. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take a piece of medium black ultra wire. Just going to give it that kind of dark rib. Take that, set it right next to that. Tie that in. And this is definitely a pattern that is taken from a very famous local tyer to our area. Ralph Cutter, he did a fly, I think it was called the creamsicle, but definitely taken from his style of October Caddis. He, I think, came up with that fly on the Truckee River. Next part, I'm going to take some shrimp orange, spawn semi-seal. Okay, it's got this really just kind of multi-colored, orangey, creamsicle-y look to it that I just, when I saw this, I didn't even look what it was called. I just saw it and was like, that's an October Caddis dub. And so I use the black thread, and I do that to get a little bit of those black kind of undercurrents of it. And I do a fairly, for this dub, if you've watched me tie before, I do a fairly tight dub in the back, and then I'll start to pick it to kind of build a little bit of a taper. You know, the standard October Caddis definitely has that pupa taper to it. But if you do this right and you look here, that kind of wire back to lead and that tight weave at the beginning is going to give you a nice little taper. And again, I you know, these fish are going to eat this. I don't think they give much thought. If they're on an October Caddis pupa grab, like this is their jam. They're going to eat it. It's more about matching kind of this color, size, and getting some nice movement out of it. So as I work it up, you can kind of tell I'm loosening up that dub and starting to pin it back a little to get a little bulkier tile. And I'll always kind of pick it out, pull it back. And then those last couple, I'll give thin, tight wraps because we're going to start thinking about that front part, basically the head. Give it a little thinner, tight wrap, right there. Okay. Then at that point, I'm going to take that wire. I'm going to pull those fibers out and kind of try to split them, if that makes sense. And you can see where that tight wrap in the back starts to play in. I'll split it. Pull them back for that. All the way forward. Tie that off. There we go. All right. Now, any caddis fly that I tie, one of my things I love to put in is CDC. Gives it that nice kind of bubbly effect, I think, as it's swinging or drifting through the water. So I'm just going to take one CDC, just basic slate gray, tie in that feather tip, and just give it a little palmer around. I think CDC a little goes a long way when it comes to the look. Not so much maybe the look, but the fishability, what you're looking for out of the material. Okay. Take those fibers, kind of pull them all back. It's like that. Okay. Take the stem, trim the stem. If I miss any fibers, I just tie them right back in. That's the beauty of it. Okay. Let's get a couple nice little CDC fibers coming back. Pin them. Okay. Then I'm going to take some mallard flank in almost like a bird's nest or a how bird style. Just standard, clip 2 off the side, put it right out the side. Get that mix of CDC and mallard flank is in my book, a pretty killer combo. Then next I'm going to take some black Arizona semi-seal, classic semi-seal dubbing. Take a clump of it, kind of give it that first black kind of buggy color. Okay, kind of pin those fibers in there. Then I take what I got left and give it a nice tight spin for a tight, compact head. Then tie that off. Trim, pull those back, take some thin, fill the little hole right there, give it a little, it's a great spot if you want to put a hot spot in there too, if you want to use some of the UV flow orange, fluorescent orange, you can do that, but for this we're just going to give it a clear. And there you go. That's Hogan's simple Euro October caddis pupa.